I got the moves. I got the moves. I'm making moves. You gotta move. You gotta make the city move. Like, whoa. I make the city move. I got the move.
There are three kinds of teams in the NBA. There are championship contending teams, teams that are rebuilding, and then there are teams stuck in no man's land. These teams that are stuck in no man's land are in the worst situation a team could possibly be in, as their team is not good enough to win a championship, but not bad enough that they get good draft picks. This leaves the team in a really bad place, as they now have to decide whether they must continue their stint in mediocrity or if they should blow things up and start a rebuild. In today's video, I'll be looking at 3 teams today who are stuck in this area and discuss why I believe they need to start a rebuild as soon as possible. If you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content. Before we start this video, I would just like to mention that I'm currently in the USA on a trip there. So if some stuff sounds off in this video, like wins and stats, you know why, as this video was recorded on the 29th of November. Hopefully you guys still enjoy the video anyway, but with that being said, let's get right into this top 3.
Lucas.
Number 1. Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons over the last few years have failed to have any real success, and I personally believe it is time for them to start over. Over the last 4 seasons in the NBA, the Pistons have made the playoffs twice, last season and in 2016, and in both those years they were the 8th seed and were swept in the first round both times as well. In the 2 years they failed to make the playoffs, the Pistons finished as a 10th and 9th seed, leading them to have some pretty average draft picks. These picks in return led to some okay players. Luke Kennard is the most notable. And this season, the Pistons are again struggling with their current core. They tried to make a push back in 2018 after they traded for Blake Griffin, but it didn't help them too much, and as of when writing this script, the Pistons are 6-12 and are the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference. It's clear some change needs to happen and they need to start afresh. The first thing they need to do is trade Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond by the deadline. Drummond is having arguably his best season ever, so his trade value right now is as high as it will ever be. Also, Drummond is entering free agency this summer unrestricted, so the prospect of losing him for nothing is not something Detroit wants to think about. They need to ask Drummond before the deadline what his plans are going forward, and if he isn't committed to the Pistons, it'll be time to trade him. Same goes with Blake Griffin. If Drummond's getting traded, he needs to go too, because there's really no point in keeping him around if that happens. Trading those 2 guys should get the Pistons a lot in return and hopefully make the rebuilding process a lot easier. The main thing for me here is to trade Drummond if he's not committed. The Pistons really need to try avoid losing him this summer for nothing at all costs. Number 2. The Portland Trailblazers. After reaching the Western Conference Finals last year, the Blazers have flopped this year tremendously. As of when recording this video, they are 10th in the Western Conference with a record of 7-12. This is obviously not the way the Blazers wanted to start the year. However, one positive thing from this bad start is the return of Carmelo Anthony, who's been making a real impact for the Portland Trailblazers right now. Currently, he's averaging 16 points and 5 rebounds and is shooting pretty efficiently. To me, the Blazers are in a bit of a different situation to the Pistons because I think blowing it all up now would be a bit irrational. However, if the Blazers fail to make the playoffs this season, then I think they should look for other options, like a rebuild. They need an extra star piece, like someone like Kevin Love, that could help get them over the line, but with their current salaries, I just find it hard to picture seeing them getting a major deal done. That's why, as I stated, if the Blazers fail to make the playoffs this season, they should rebuild, or at the very least, retool. CJ McCollum would probably be the first guy they look to trade, as this season he's been pretty inconsistent and I don't think the Blazers would want to trade Lillard right away. McCollum is a valuable piece though, and has proven his worth in the playoffs, so I think the market for him will be high, and the Blazers can get good pieces in return for him. I personally don't see Lillard getting traded. I find it very unlikely, so whilst I do think the Blazers will try and have a fresh start after the season, if they fail to make the playoffs that is, I don't think it will be a complete rebuild, more like a retooling process. This will be necessary though, in my opinion, if they wish to contend in the near future. Number 3. The San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs have now officially fallen from grace. After over 2 decades of competing and achieving playoff berths, the San Antonio Spurs are now struggling badly and currently sit in the 13th seed in the Western Conference with a record of 6-13, losing 9 of their last 10 games as of when making this video. With Greg Popovich nearing the end of his coaching lifetime, and with rumours flying all over the place about trades, the Spurs are looking to rebuild for the first time in a long time. Star players like Derozan and Aldridge are more likely to be traded than not by the deadline this year, and again, after their rough start, it's time for the Spurs to rebuild for the first time in decades. The first move will be to obviously trade Demar Derozan, and the second will probably be Lamarcus Aldridge. Demar is still playing at a high level, averaging 22 points per game, and teams like Miami and Toronto will be in the hunt for him, as teams like these are just one guy away from being legit. Same with Lamarcus Aldridge. Teams that need that extra star power will be calling frantically, trying to get a deal done. These guys are probably the top players on the market right now. With all these rumours flying around daily, the market value for these two guys is obviously high, so this rebuilding process for the Spurs shouldn't be too hard. I think they can get a lot out of these players and have a good young core and draft picks to start the rebuild they've been holding off for over 2 decades. But that will conclude the top 3. What do you guys think of this? Out of these 3 teams, who needs to rebuild the most? Is there another team out there that needs to rebuild that I forgot about? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.